And good morning. How are you? How are you? How are you? Well, outside it's looking kind of ugly. We're not on the side of Francine that's going to get the worst of it, but we're going to get they said maybe a tornado warning or two and some rain. So, it's been pretty dry and hot here. So I'm looking forward to the rain. I really am. And maybe that's when I can settle down, because mostly time I'm on the go. But I wasn't here on Monday, and I apologize for that. But a lovely friend of mine passed away from her long 10-year battle with cancer. And, I was honored to be one of her persons to be selected to give a word or two about who she was. And she was just a wonderful woman. And I don't know why, but I wasn't directed into this room uh, of my house until yesterday, which was the day after her funeral. And sitting there on my piano was this poem, and the poem says, "To Sandy, you are my girl and my sister. Thank you for the things you have done, too many to count. Thank you for being there." It says, especially during a time of immeasurable hurts. When the Lord saw fit to send an angel, that angel was you. Love, your sister in Christ, Marva. So, since I wasn't able to give that at the funeral in my 3 words of expression, I said I would make sure I honored her this morning before I started out. So I know that she's resting now. She was just a lovely woman. But anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. Um, Today we want to talk about um, a word that interests me. And I don't know how I got to it, but I have a word of words. But it's titular. And titular is a word that's probably pretty significant if you've ever worked for people where you did all the work and they got all the credit. Have you ever done that? I remember specifically while I was in New York, and I'm hoping Debbie will come on this morning because Debbie worked the same job with me, and we had, a leader that was basically a figurehead. Um, we did all the work. We did all the work, but he was a figurehead, and I presume it might have been, something that was in his past that connected him to that position, that certainly gave him all of the clout of what was being done, but he did none of it, not anything at all. So it used to just interest me as to how people get those positions, because I've never had one. I can honestly tell you that. Every position I've ever had, I've always worked in the position and always worked and gave my information to whomever was, on my team, or as my supervisor or administrator. So there it was. Good morning, Cheryl. Today our word is titular, Titular, and we're going to talk about what titular means. But it's almost like a figurehead. In fact, that was one word that they would characterize it as a person that's in power, but is really powerless without the other people that work for them. And I presume that could probably be anybody that's ever worked in any job in any country. There's always somebody that could be over you. I always say a boss always has a boss. I always used to say that. It's still true. So anyway, I found this poem this morning, and it says "The Leader," and it's kind of cute because it's what I would call it is almost childish, in its delivery, but meaningful in the understanding of it. There she is. Howdy doody to you, girlfriend. Good morning, Debbie, my friend. I was talking about this word because it reminded me so much of the boss we used to have. So we're going to get into the word anyway, but um, and the word is titular, Titular. So this poem is by Roger Magoo, and it says, "I want to be a leader. I want to be the leader. Can I be the leader? Can I? Can I? Promise? Promise? Yippee! I'm the leader. I'm the leader. Okay, what shall we do?" Is that not somebody you've ever worked with before where they're the leader, but they do nothing? That's because a lot of times leaders are only leading in terms of their position, their title, but they're not necessarily leading in terms of anything that is to be done. A lot of times that's where the crew comes in, the team, the rest of the agency comes and puts in all the work. It says, "Ooh, I know who you're chat." Sorry. if the shoe fits. But anyway, so this word just kind of grabbed me when I was just thinking over all the jobs I've had and people I've worked for and things that I've done, and it really has made it where I wanted to talk about it. Would anybody talk about it with me? But it is titular, and it says meaning holding or constituting a purely formal position or title without any real authority. They may be the last person that delivers what's being said, but in terms of the preparation of that and all of that went into it, they did none of it. It did none of it. So basically, it's a position that is symbolic. It's profused. It's nominal in terms of what they're given to do. I remember this person used to read the newspaper all day and then interrupt the workers and telling us what we needed to read about. And so, or what he was reading about. And we would be so upset because we had so much work to do. We didn't have time to do that. But anyway, it talks about it being nominal in title and name, and it's sometimes given as the official person in charge. Ceremonial, like they may have a big to do in opening up offices or making sure this person was written up well in the newspaper or now on various media platforms. But it is a puppet position. It says it may be theoretical, it may be supposed, and it may be something that is ostensible. So when we look at jobs, we might be looking at where we are positioned. And rarely are we positioned at the top where we're also not only engaged in keeping everything going, but we have people come to us who keeps everything going, or the person at the top is doing that. So when we look at this situation, have you ever been in it? Put a hand in there, a raised hand if you've been in this situation. I know I have. I've been in it. And sometimes it's very uncomfortable, but yet and still, um, you continue to learn because if you're a part of that, what I would call leading from the middle portion of the company or agency or business you work in, you understand what's required of you. You're there as the worker and somebody. Yeah, it's true. It is so true. So when I start off the word and I say, have you ever been stuck in that position? For me, yes. My T is for theoretical, okay? And it's based on a calculated through theory rather than experience or practice, meaning that the person at the top may not be the one that has to theorize, practice, understand, acknowledge. They just have to deliver, they have to give information that someone else prepared for them. It's probably a nice position to be in Probably is. I don't know. As I said, I've never been in that position. Um, what did you write? Thorn? A thorn? Where's my glass? Oh, I got my glasses on me. That daggone Debbie. Yes, a thorn. But anyway, I said theoretical, and I said so. Therefore, sometimes we look at the situation and we said, "Oh, that's hypothetical. That's something that's it's a conjecture. It's more academic. It's more present. It's more, you know, it's more speculative, notional, um, imagined." How many people have you imagined them doing more than what they do, and they only do so much? Okay, assumed, presumed, unproven, unsubstantiated that they can do anything because they don't have to. They don't have to. So that's what theoretical, like people that are placed in that position, that we look at it and say, well, that's theoretical. It's not real. It's more imagined, more made up, or whatever. My I of titular is imagine. You know, something about thankless. I have imagined for titular as my second word. It says because it forms a mental image, meaning we see this person as being superior, as being in charge, as being the director, the presidents, the leaders, and yet and still, if people drill down, they would find more things going on. Illusion. That's great. That's a great word. And it says, so I said imagine, which means forming this mental concept of imagery in our minds. That's what we're doing. And it says where we visualized it, we've envisioned it, or it's been an envision for us because they presented themselves as this person. I used to work in an agency in New York, and it was an interesting agency because the person that I worked on was stuck on one word. This is terrible too. I said, I'm going to do this word one day. It was called Epicurean. And I said, Epicurean. I said, that means that's food. That's like a food connoisseur. And he would always say, and it's such an Epicurean delight. And he would be in the meeting, but every meeting we would write down how many times he wrote Epicurean. Had nothing to do with the fact that we were working in a community-based organization that would helping young people and older people get some educational background, educational information and courses added to their backgrounds. We didn't get it, but guess what? Every time we met, and then he'd always go for long lunches. And when he went, one time we had a lunch in his office, and he had all of this stuff, and he says, "Isn't this an Epicurean delight?" I don't know where he is now, but that was funny stuff. But he was the director. He was the director. So you never know. So imagine, some talks about dreamed about, fantasized, dreamed up, thought up, conceived, planned, and projected. And sometimes when we imagine things, we can imagine ourselves being in a position where we're paid well and seen as being the leader. That doesn't mean that we will get there. It just is that was our imagination. So that's why I said that. Under the word titular, which means, once again, it's forming this, having a position of authority, but not really being in authority. You're in authority only based on title. There you go. So my second T is, guess what? It's the title. We all have titles, okay? And most of us, if we're working in a situation, and if we're the director, the president, the manager, the supervisor, all those have titles. And we take that title. Some of us take it seriously. Some of us don't take it at all. Good morning. Good morning, Adelia. How are you? Today our word is titular, which means, of course, being in a position with title only. There's no power or anything with it. Nothing comes with it. It's just, clout, I guess, in terms of that's the person that we recognize as being the leader. But I have this book that I have started years ago called Leading from the Middle. Many times when you work with with people that don't work, you understand that they realize that they have worker bees, you know, and the worker bees. I always tell people, look at the ant colony, worker bees. They have folks that's going to do something, get something done, and those are the people that they surround themselves with, which is not a bad tactic. I mean, I've never been in a position where I didn't have to work. so I don't know what it would be. I don't know what that would be, but a tendency that would be good. Yes, yes, yes. But I said title, and title means a name that describes someone's position or job. And most of us, we will call on the person that has the title, even though they're probably going to come back through all the people that we pass through to bring information to him or her. And then they turn around and give it back to us to take it back down into what I call the area of where work production is going on. And then we'll pass it back up and down. I've had it where I've worked for people, and the people that actually do the work are never given the credit. Never. Never. So the title is the moniker. It could be the name, the nickname, the pseudonym, the banner, the handle, the tag, and the label. Transparent. Oh, that's good. And tendency. Transparent, most times when you're working for, I think, government or probably big business anywhere, be it, hospitals or, I can imagine that you're working for, big business like Amazon or all of these places. You will see the hierarchical system in such a way that shows you where you are. And rarely, you don't want too many leaders, but some businesses are like that. There's a lot of leadership that has it where everyone reports to this person and writes the reports and gives them things that make sense to whatever goes out, even though the person that may be doing the reporting is not the one that actually prepared the report. Hello, I'm from Monaco, 49 years, search woman. I want married. Do I find here what I want? No. Sorry. This is an educational system, but it has nothing to do with marriage. Thank you, though. So anyway, when we move on in our words, my you of titular would be unsubstantiated, meaning they're not proven to be true, that they're the true leader. They're not. They will act like it, but they can't do it. There's no delivery in what they have to do. They have to rely on other people to bring them what they need. So it says that sometimes we may find this action to be unreasonable to us. We can't quite make it out. In fact, some of us may be walking back to our desks mad. We may be angry at the fact that we cannot do anything with whoever's running that top section, but give them what they want, which is what we've already, researched, written up, and certainly delivered, And I remember, for me, and I'm quite sure for anyone that's ever worked for other people, there's always a suspense date. There's a time to have things done. So you understand that, you're on your own line until it becomes the line that you have to take up to them. And so it's always that you're always under fire to get things done. Undermine. Okay. Sometimes people can undermine others. Yes. When something is unsubstantiated, it says also that it's unfounded or baseless or false. And a lot of times when you see people that are in figurehead positions, love you too, sweet pea. Hey, baby. That's my niece in New York. But anyway, sometimes we find that things are baseless. There's no way to go back and undo what they did, even though you may make every best attempt. It's almost like the horse eventually gets, behind the cart instead of the other way around. And so you have to then try to do what I call patchwork or Band-Aid work, but you're trying to fix what they may have misunderstood and therefore provided out in the ozone. So everybody got to say that's not quite right, but it is life. It is so much life. Also with unsubstantiated, maybe unsupported. Have you ever worked with people that they couldn't recall what you told them, so they told what portion of it that they remembered, and then you have to go back and change up what was stated. I have, and I'm quite sure any of you have worked for other people. Sometimes the ones that get the understanding are the ones that, once again, they're doing the work and they understand the rigor that must go in, or the rigors that must go in to get it right. When we move on in our word of titular, is label. A title is a label. You know, um, some people with titles, it goes to their brain, and they feel that the title would make everybody stand up, and then bend down and genuflect. Well, I've never thought that. No matter what I've ever had going on in my life, I never had that kind of feeling or desire to have people change, for me. And I didn't like doing that for others either. I do have to admit. But sometimes, you had to dress in a certain way. You had to, sit a certain place. There were things that you had to do that were basically told to you. You knew you had to do it. Good morning, Miss Rosie. How are you? How are you? How are you? Are you today? Our word is titular, which means that people may be in a powerful position, but know nothing about having power. The power is in the workers that may work underneath them. So with the label, you're looking at the characterization that comes with labels, the classification, the hallmark, the identification, the insignia, the mark, the tally, and the ticket. So when people present to you, and they're presented as judge, doctor, pastor, or whatever, some of us may get in a mindset and it says, wow, okay, is there a certain way I'm supposed to act? I just want listen, I have a title, but I'm just Winnie. I'm just Winnie. I'm just gonna have a good time in my life and world. And it was something that I wanted to do, which was to reach for that title. Because I don't know, the Lord always told me I was going to be that. So I had to do what I was given to do. But it doesn't define me. It doesn't define me. I mean, and I hope people would find other things within me that are much more important, much more worthy to be seen than the title of my name, or before my name, or after my name. So for me, that's how I feel about labels. Labels are okay. Oh, lug. I love that, Deb. Then we come up with my A of titular is authority. A lot of times you will see that people that have perceived or even positional power, that's a good one right there, positional power, they're in that position of authority, even though everything is fed to them. That position of authority has power only within the outside viewing in folks. The folks inside understand what the real deal is. Am I telling the truth? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'll answer my own question, because the people inside there said, "Okay, now we have to have this report done by here. We have to do this. We have to do research. We have to do write up with we know, because we're on the treadmill. We're on the treadmill. We're on the clock, in terms of meeting the suspense time." Um, Acting, yes. Sometimes we do have to act. We do. So authority says the power or right of or right delegated or given, which is their authorization. It says it's probably justification for why they're in there. And sometimes, let's face it, people are in there, as I said, from their past connections. It could be political. It could be financial. Could be, I promised you a job. There you go. So it talks about authority being something that's considered to be a force. And even if it doesn't have much to do in terms of needing to deliver anything that other people working for them deliver stuff to them or through them. It says that it could be government, it could be something that is just an understood rule, a charge, a charge to complete stuff. Could be clout. Let's face it. A lot of times, a lot of hobnobbers have clout. Now, I've never had clout. I just I just have Sandy, but I never have clout. And then it talks about it be a plan, it be a credit that someone owes them, and it could be a denomination. This just meaning that because they're a part of this affiliation, that puts them in a position to, get a recognition high up. And so it's understood. Um, and the last letter I have, I would say, yay, is in titular is the rule. Rule is meaning something that's been exercised, the ultimate power or authority, which is over other people or an area. Over other people or an area, meaning that even though in modern day they don't say that our bosses at the top rule over us, but in ancient times and all the way back through the Bible, there were always rulers. There were always people that were in power. They were in a position, right? Regulations is good. They were in a position to say something, in a position to do something. And they did, especially if someone didn't perform the way they were supposed to, deliver things on time when they were supposed to. I always imagined, like those people who were kings, or pharaohs, and they had, armor bearers, and these armor bearers would, drink things before they did to make sure if they were poisoned that person ended up dying, for their king. That would never be a position that I would have wanted. Well, I'm fussy about what I eat anyway, so that would be like, no, cannot do it. But that would be one of them. That kind of ruler that would have that kind of access and over, seeing of people. And so that would be scary if I'd ever lived through those times. Regulation is really good, but rule says to exercise power or authority over an area or its people. So therefore, it's governed. It's something that would be governed or preside over, be the leader of, the running leader of, the one who may dominate, one who may dominate, one who heads up everything and sways people left or right, up or down, orders people to be whatever, sent to the brig, sent to the jails, killed, all of that, and that's the extreme of what I'm talking about because, I'm just talking about regular jobs that there are people that you may work for and they may still have this title, which is titular, that really it's powerless in terms of what it offers, but only the people on the inside know. People on the outside would never know. So the rule is to dominate the head, to sway, and to be in power regardless of what's going on. They're the ones to look to for information, and the deliverers may be those that are down in the middle and sometimes even at the bottom. Even at the bottom. So think about the idea of titular, when you're thinking about working for other people or even forming your own business. It becomes, something that you have to pay attention to. Do I want to be, a person that is employing other people where I'm kind and I'm good and I'm going to learn with them? I know that that's the kind of boss, I would have been had I ever been in charge of others. I would have learned with them so that we both would have, collaborated together, even though I might have been the final person giving the account or the delivery of what we worked on. But it wouldn't be that I just took information and never tried to learn it myself and understand how all put together how it works for the good of whatever the business that we're working for. But that's the way I see it today. That's the way I see it. Listen, have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. I don't know what else is entailed. I did this pretty good, pretty fast today. Have a good Thursday also. I'm going to be back on Friday with another word. I want you to take care of yourself. Think about, if you're still working, how, or if you've worked in the past, who had you work for, where you understood that they were more titular in their role as director, president, supervisor, manager, than you were in your role of a developer, researcher, deliverer, and unknown. Listen, I'll see you. I love you guys. Really, hit the button that says share, okay? Have a great, great day. Thank you. Bye bye.